Alright, so we're going to look at a bunch of PvZ from Zest and Trap from the GSL Super Tournament round of 8. There's a lot of different things in this series that I think are really cool to look at. I think there's a lot of stuff that we could learn from. Usually a lot of people think that PvP is basically a completely chaotic matchup that no one knows at all what's happening and you can't learn from it because it's just a bunch of proxies and shit. But I thought this series actually was really good in terms of seeing a lot of things that are easy to notice and actually implement into your own play if you are looking to try and improve your PvP in some way. Because Trap is playing a lot of builds that are really solid this series with small little alterations to go along with what he's scouting that make it some very strong play. So we're kind of just going to go over a lot of this stuff. This is going to be a very free-form video. I'm just kind of blabber on about a whole bunch of stuff with not the most organization really, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll get right into it. In the first game, I'm going to talk a lot about like kind of scouting pattern stuff, how to actually react, and based off of how Trap does it, and how his build kind of changes around these couple games. So let's go into it. We'll put it on double speed so that we can see what's going on. So what Trap does in a lot of his PvPs and what a lot of Protosses do right now is putting a second pylon out on the map to fake a proxy. And the thing with this is that it also helps to scout as well, because since so many people scout, or since so many people do proxies in PvP now, it's almost better to not even scout the other side of the map. It's almost better to just scout around on the map itself instead. So Trap does this thing where he puts the proxy at the top part of the base, or top part of the map, so that way it's not easily scouted by Zest, but but it also kind of gives a little bit of extra vision on this side of the map for Trap as well. Then he cuts it all the way across over here, comes back around. I hate this YouTube scroller thing. Oh, this is so annoying. He comes back around to get in here around 215. So 215 is a good time to get into the other player's base, because then it allows you to come around here, give you enough time to scout if there's a second pylon or not. So Trap sees that there's a second pylon in here, so he knows there's no proxy. And then usually you can get out in time before these two units pop out at 230. However, Zest this game was pretty good, and he blocked the probe from Trap from actually getting out. But Trap sees only a single stalker, so he knows that it's Sentry Stalker Opener anyway. And so what Trap does, knowing that it is not a proxy, and knowing that it's a Sentry Stalker Opener, which is a relatively weak fighting composition, is he walks straight across the map with both of his stalkers while expanding. Trap will do this exact same build each of the 3 games, where he actually, I think the second game maybe he goes Sentry Stalker. No, he goes, okay, never mind. He goes this exact build 2 of the 3 games. The second game he still opens double stalker, but he changes it in double sentry afterwards. But we'll talk about that later. This game, so anyway, yeah, he goes double stalker, double adept, and then he goes double sentry. So that's the 6 unit rotation that he does while expanding behind it. And it basically allows him to be very versatile, because he could either do this pressure that he's going to do this game, or he could be very diligent on scouting if he sees that there's a proxy. But he saw that there's no proxy, and he saw that there was an adept sentry opener, or sorry, a stalker sentry opener, so he could join up both groups of units together at the ramp, kill a sentry and a stalker for free. Well, not free. He loses the adepts, but the adepts are almost worthless anyway. And an extra probe. So he kills a probe, he kills a sentry, and he kills a stalker for just 1 adept, and then that probe died earlier in the game. So awesome little opener. All but because he saw that there was a pylon in the base, and he saw what units that Zest had made. Behind this, he's getting his robo. He's already expanded, and since he knew that it was a Sentry Stalker opener, with no proxy, he assumed that it would be macro, so he was able to be chrono boosting probes consistently this entire time, whereas Zest had to kind of cut a little bit to account for any potential proxy, because he saw that there was no pylon in trap space, and it instead was all the way over here on the map. So then what Trap does is he basically makes extra sets of adepts a lot. This is something that some pros will do, where they just continuously make different adept run-bys, 2 adepts at a time, like this. You can do that 2 or 3 times in the early game and just kind of send them around. And if the other player is not paying attention, they will oftentimes lose a lot of probes. Wait, I need to change my music. I forgot to put this on repeat. Oh no, the production quality, no. Okay. So, Zest Spore Prism gets easily spotted as well. Trap was able to get into the +1 relatively quickly. It's right on time with Zests. But he was also able to get a lot of early probe kills with those adepts, enough that it put him into a good enough lead. And since he already had a probe lead from earlier, because he chronoed out probes quicker, because he knew it was going into macro before Zest did, it allowed him to get to 2 base saturation quicker, which means he's now going to do this, one of the glaive all-ins, which are super, super strong if you get into a winning position beforehand. And if the other player is not prepared for it, it will simply kill you, which is exactly what ends up happening this game, as Trap simply walks on up. He's got the 2 hallucinated Archons at the front as well to soak up a bunch of damage, and he just plows right through Zest, because Zest is not at all ready. And this is basically all off of a very early scout with a proxied pylon on his end. So it made it so that way Zest thought that Trap was being more aggressive than he really was. Trap noticed that Zest was being defensive, so he was able to be a little bit aggressive early on while playing full macro behind it, but then transitioning it into a sharp timing attack right after that. Beautiful, beautiful play. Okay, then the Golden Wall game happened, and this game is an absolute meme, so we're not actually going to look at it. Trap loses that game. But that was just a dumb game, because Trap tried to go for a 1-gate expand versus Zest, who full walled his main and then went proxy Stargate. So this is not really, I don't know. There's not much to talk about in this game. It's really just there's a proxy Stargate, and Trap wasn't prepared for it, so he lost. That's it. It's kind of a meme map with weird different scouting patterns that don't really apply to anything else, so we're not really going to talk about it. But next game. Game number 3. Golden Wall is a serious and strategical map. Alright, so game number 3. Da 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 da. Trap coming on over here, and this game actually, Trap is doing a double scout. Since he just lost to Proxy Oracle, he might have just been feeling a little bit on edge, not wanting to lose to it again. And since this map is very good for Proxy Oracles, because this whole area right here is right next to your main, and it's pretty far away on the ground, so it's difficult to actually get to. He just wanted to make sure that he was not going to die to anything over here. And so then he just puts 1 extra probe over here, and it'll immediately go back. This one is going to be scouting around. I'd hate this. This YouTube bar is so annoying. He's going to bring this probe to scatter on the bottom side of the map and be able to see stuff going on over there. And instead, this game of since he's putting 2 probes out on the map, he's instead just going to put his second pylon over to the top, because again, he just really doesn't want to lose to Proxy Oracle, and this will give him extra vision for any oracles that come in. And it also makes it look kind of hidden anyway. So he's basically proxying it without proxying it. As you can see, Zest is not actually seeing that this pylon is out over on that side of the base. Then once again, he comes into the other side of the map. He gets into Zest space at around 2:15. Then he could get on out of there by 2:30, but he actually kind of spends a little bit too much time trying to get that pylon down in a too cutesy of a way, so he loses his probe again. But regardless, he sees that it's Sentry Stalker, and then he initially was going to go into extra Stalkers, but he cancels it and instead throws down a fast Nexus, seeing that Zest will not be aggressive, and then goes into 2 sentries afterwards. So you could either play it more aggressive if you see that it's Sentry Stalker, or you could even go a little bit more economic and defensive on it as well. You can get a little greedy, cut some corners to get a slightly faster eco boost. As you can see, Trap's Nexus is like a whole 20 or so seconds quicker than Zest's, even though Zest went for the quote-unquote macro opener. He also gets the faster Robo, knowing that Zest is the one that is playing defensive by default. The only thing that Zest has going for him is the fast forge, but again, Trap has been constantly making and chrono boosting probes, so his probe count is again already up a solid 3. About 3 to 4, even 5 at one point. And with the faster Nexus, that also helps out as well. But with the fast Robo, it basically makes it so that way Trap can get a much faster harassment force out onto the map. He also was able to get sight of this warp prism very early, so he's able to go ahead and chase that down, which is awesome, while then putting the 2 adepts into the main base and getting a lot of juicy probe kills. 5 in total, while already being up a lot, puts him he's at full 2-base saturation before Zest is even close to it. So it doesn't really matter that Zest is a little bit ahead in the upgrade lead, because he has just so much better economy than sniping off this prism with his perfect map vision, because he had stuff going around all this on the top side of the map anyway. Made it super wonderful. So yes, because Trap has been at 2-base economy much faster and for much longer, he's able to get all these extra gateways out much quicker, and he's going to be able to power up a much larger army quicker than Zest. And since he had a faster Robo as well, he was able to then go into Immortals, saving the Prism to then do a double Immortal drop, which is extremely, extremely difficult to deal with if you do not have the tools necessary like Blink or Stargate. And as we can see, it's becoming extremely frustrating. He's killing off a lot of Stalkers, he's depowering some tech. Or production, I mean. And again, Trap's economy has just been far superior this entire game. So eventually Zest will get his +2 finished. And he'll say, you know what, alright, let's go across the map. We have +2, this is the one advantage I have. Let's try and see if I can make it work, because generally +2 attacks are very good in PvP. But again, because Trap has been ahead in economy the whole time, his army is simply much larger, much more robust. And look, there's all those Guardian shields, just like that one YouTube commenter said that didn't exist. Ha! And basically Trap just absolutely rolls him with no contest whatsoever. Even though he's an upgrade down, that does not account for the fact that Trap's army is just absolutely gargantuan. And he's able to roll it. Easy peasy. So, to recap again. Trap went ahead and did a double probe scout just to make sure he did not die to Proxy Oracle once again, with his 2 probes out on the map right here. Put an extra pylon over on the side to also, again, make it look like he was proxying when he really wasn't, and Zest did not see this. He then got his probe to scout at 2:15 or so to see what the 2 units are that come out of Zest's base. Saw that it was a sentry opener, and thus was able to get a slightly faster Nexus because of that. and then into the 2 other sentries while continuously making probes the whole time, which then allowed him to get a much higher economic lead and then snowball from there. Very, very solid play. Yes, you could do things where you meme around with Sentry Stalker openers, but then end up being aggressive anyway, but it's very, very unlikely that that usually ends up happening. So Nexus before the 2 sentries, because he had saw that it was Stalker Sentry opener. So like we had said earlier, the first game had it where he saw a Sentry Stalker opener, but he then went aggressive with the extra 2 Adepts afterwards. This time he decided to be more greedy and cut some corners to go for the faster Nexus instead, so that way he wasn't predictable. So you have either choice with this build. So the double Stalker is super, super good, a super good opener. This game, though, we'll see an even... This game is super awesome. I love this game. This game is absolutely beautiful. The alterations that Trap does and the reaction that he has is so freaking good. So, normal opener once again. He's got his probe scouting around on his side of the base, or sorry, his side of the map a little bit to try and see if there's any proxies over here early into the game. And then he does his fake proxy on that side right over there. So once again, he's going to make it look like he is doing a proxy, although Zest this game will be proxying himself, so it'll be a little bit different. But again, the probe then comes in here by 215 to then get a scout around. This time, he sees no second pylon. That's a third pylon right there. So this game, Trap knows that Zest is proxying. Previous to this game, Zest had not done a proxy, except for the Golden Wall game, but that game Zest full walled his main, so Trap couldn't actually get in to scout that. So again, that's the outlier game. So what does Trap do this time? He opened double Stalker once again, which is what he's been doing every single game so far, except for the Golden Wall game, because that's, again, that was an outlier. Seeing that it's a proxy, he then throws down a Robo immediately, because he cannot know if it is proxy Robo or proxy Stargate yet. So he immediately throws down a Robo, assuming that it's proxy Stargate. He's going into the double Adept once again, just like the first game, and now he's using the 2 Stalkers to scout around for proxies along with this probe. So the probe leaves the base at 230. You can, you should presume, or you should preferably leave slightly earlier than 230 to make sure that you absolutely get out with the probe when you see that it's no proxy, so that way you can continuously scout around with it on Zest's side of the map. So Trap started by scouting this side of the map a little bit by putting this pylon here. He scouted the main base and then came out and then scouted around this side of the map with the probe. Then the Stalkers also went and tried to scout around that side too. I don't know if, did he actually, I think, no, he sees the Stargate much later, but we'll get to that. So assuming that it is proxy Robo, since he still has not seen the proxy Stargate, he also makes this shield battery up at the top with this Robo being quick as well. But then the next super important thing is that this probe right here is going to come in at just after 3 minutes, because 3 minutes is the time where you put down a Nexus in a normal game. Comes over here, scouts the Nexus, and runs back. Immediately upon scouting that... Okay, yeah, there we go. Shield battery. Immediately upon scouting that it's a Nexus right over here, this shield battery gets cancelled. Because he now knows that it is not proxy Robo, because you cannot have a Nexus on the field at that time if you're going proxy Robo. He then expands right away, and then sees the Oracle come in and just plays defensive with the 2 Stalkers, while the Adepts go into the base and force Zest to react. Now, since Trap had gotten this early Robo to blind counter a proxy Robo, he's now able to react with a fast follow-up push of his own, which is super sick. He goes straight into a Warp Prism, which he will then load up with 2 Adepts, which at first just looks like it's some normal pressure, and Zest sees this coming. He just thinks, okay, it's just going to be a couple Adepts to pressure, and that's it. Behind it, Trap is going to be making Immortals. He's making a couple probes to still make it look like he's kind of macroing. He's going to go ahead and kill off this these pylons, which is fine. The Warp Prism doesn't actually end up really doing anything this game, though. Since Zest saw it from the beginning, it doesn't do anything. But instead, what Trap is doing is just making units back at home, denying vision from the Oracle to making sure it's as far away from his side of the map as possible, so it does not see this push until it's all the way across the map. He's getting a 3rd gateway behind it, but he doesn't actually need it because he was just making Adepts, he was making Immortals, and he's able to just blow the front door after Zest's early proxy Oracle did 100% nothing, and Trap wins the whole series 3-1. I am in love with this series. There's so you can these are scouts, these are reactions, these are alterations that you can put into your games. These don't just feel like completely random and nonsensical. Like it doesn't just feel like a clown fiesta. It feels like these are very simple to understand reads and scouting patterns that could actually be implemented into your own play. And I already saw the benefits of this. I literally played in a game identical, almost identical to this Zen game. I was even in this exact spawn location, and I was able to do the exact same thing. We might even go into that as well, just for the hell of it, just so you can see how this could be implemented. But yeah, this is super sick. I love this series so much. It has so much valuable information. One other small thing that I forgot to mention. When Trap comes in here to scout for this this natural base, like I said, that goes down at 3 minutes. I hate this YouTube thing. This 3-minute timer is also the same time that you get the Nexus for a normal macro opener. We can go back and look at the Zest game really quick. Or sorry, the Sentry Stalker game that Zest did this game. And we can go to 3 minutes. This game is opening Sentry Stalker, and 3 minutes also when the Nexus goes down for this build. So then you might be asking, well, how does Trap know then that it's Proxy Oracle, or is it Proxy Robo, or is it just normal play? So this game, he doesn't know if it's Proxy Oracle. For all he could know, it could just have been a fake proxy like he was doing all those other games. However, if he was able to get farther in to the base... Wait, is my minimap's covering this? Here's the Nexus, if you didn't see that. Lol. Now let's put it back up again. So in this game, when this probe gets in here, he did not want to risk sending the probe much further in to see if there was any extra units because he wanted to keep it alive for whatever reason. Instead, to continue to scout, I guess. I don't know. But basically, if you can get yourself farther in and you see you can confirm that there's only 2 units with a 3-minute Nexus, that means that it's Proxy Oracle, because you can only have made 2 units at this time. If you look at the production, Zest only has 2 Stalkers, where Trap has 2 Stalkers and 2 Adepts, so Trap was able to go 2 rounds of units out of the gateways because he was not proxying anything, whereas Zest was going for the Proxy Stargate and trying to get the fast Nexus, which is a very common build that people do right now. So if you can get a confirmation that it's only 2 units, and you see the Nexus, then you can confirm that it's Proxy Oracle. However, if you play it like this anyway, and you just play defensively with the 2 Stalkers that you started with, 2 Stalkers will easily be able to deny an Oracle from YOLOing into your probes, as we can see here. So, awesome scouting, awesome reactions, awesome alterations from Trap to clinch this series 3-1 in a very satisfying manner. If it's Proxy Robo, does he use the Adepts to shade on the Immortal and kill it? That's a great question. it's possible if you can find it early enough that you can do that. You can definitely engage them early on. There was no proxy robo in this series though, so I can't see exactly how he did it or how he would do it. But he might have also just been defensive anyway, because like I said, he can't know what it is because he hasn't actually scouted it. As we can see on the minimap, he's trying to look as much as he can with the stalkers and the probe. If he had seen proxy robo, potentially he would have then stayed on the map with the adepts rallying forward and then tried to engage his Zest units on the map beforehand to snowball it while then going robo. But since he didn't know, at this point he's bringing the stalkers back because he also has to account for the fact that it might be proxy oracle. So he's bringing the stalkers back so they don't get sniped, or so that way he doesn't get caught out of position. Then when he gets the confirmation that it's not proxy robo, he could just be using the stalkers defensively. So if it ended up being proxy robo anyway at this point, he would have probably just stayed in the base and then just used the fast robo to defend on the high ground with that shield battery completing and then going into whatever follow-up tech he deemed more useful in that sense. So what I want to do now is go into... Hi, look, it's my face. I have a game that I played that is almost identical to the last game on Zen that I think would be very nice to see. So you can see exactly what we're talking about with that same exact reaction. And it's super sick. Assuming that StarCraft does not crash on me, because that would be extremely sad. Please, StarCraft, do things that I want you to do. Ay, ay, ay. Oh my god, please, why? You're ruining my content. StarCraft, please, why? What time do you have to be in the mineral line to deny proxy oracle? It's a great question. I forgot to look. But since we're waiting for StarCraft to load up, let's look again. Oh, 3:30. I'm done. We can see right here. Like 3:30-ish or so. A little before that if it's a much closer proxy. Okay, just like that. Alright, cool, we're loading in. We did it. Oh, you got me picking my nose at the end there. Uh-oh. Alright. So. Same exact map, same exact spawning locations. I seriously, this felt so good. So this game, I do the exact same thing. I scout around, and I actually see, I go to the same exact spot, and I see his probe coming out here. So I know that there's a potential for some sort of proxy on my side of the map. Go for this proxy over here. I assume that he didn't see me. I actually spent a little bit too much time scouting around over here. I really shouldn't have done that, just because I knew, like knowing the timing, that he probably would not have had a pylon down that early anyway. So this probe actually ends up getting into this base a little too late. Usually you want to be here at 2:15, right? So I'm not quite able to get the scout that it's only that there is a proxy pylon, but it looks like he did a fake proxy pylon anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But regardless, I see two stalker with the probe and the pylon. And since I saw this probe earlier as well, the two stalker opener is able to then scout this out very quickly and deny it from happening altogether, because then the two adepts can come on in and help deny all of this. Then you go for the expand. There's the robo. Seeing that he's got the late sentries, and seeing that he tried to be aggressive and it got completely denied, I instead, myself, just go right into the immortal, get a lot of sentries, Go right into the warp prism as well, while just making a few probes to make it look like I'm actually macroing. Walk right across the map. And bada bing, bada boom. Absolutely crush him with no chance whatsoever. Easy peasy. I saw the series, I practiced the response once, and then I got the exact situation to use it in the ladder session immediately after. And very rarely does that ever actually happen, so I was actually extremely satisfied with this. So, as we can see, they are reactions and scouting patterns that are entirely worthwhile and easy to implement into your own play. It's not something that is completely foreign and impossible to understand, as a lot of people make PvP out to seem right now. So this build in general is very solid. I like it a lot. The double stalker into double adept into double sentry. Very, very solid with good probe scouting earlier as well. So that's all I'm going to do for this. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll try to maybe do this a little bit in the future as well if there's anything that shows up. But regardless, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you around.